I've recently had the opportunity to set up a brand new workspace here in my studio. I've also just added some awesome new accessories which might help inspire your setup. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to run through how I've chosen to set up my creative workspace and all of the little touches that help me optimize my creativity and productivity when I'm working here. As always, all the items are linked down in the description, and if there are any sales or discounts running, I've included them for you too. I debated for some time about getting a standing desk and eventually went with this one from Vernal. It comes in a variety of color options, but I went with the light walnut and the white frame combination. I've got a much darker stained wood setup at home, so I wanted to contrast that when I'm in here with a lighter colour theme. It was so easy to put together, and crikey, this thing weighs a ton. You know when they say something is reassuringly heavy? I think that's exactly what you want from a desk. I also picked up the desk shelf and the integrated tray from Vernal to match, and I think the tray is actually intended for keyboards to sit in, but I've been using it to keep all of my cables and filters and batteries and remotes stored away. These are all the things that I need regular access to, but I don't ever want to see them. So it's quite nice to be able to shut this away in a drawer and have them all there within reach. Now, speaking of cables, the desk comes with these grommets built in to each side of the desk to keep everything nice and tidy, and there's a space to house your surge protectors and power bricks all the way around the back. Now, I do need to have a bit of a tidy up under here, but for now, it's out of sight, out of mind. As I walk over to the desk, all I can usually see is the single cable coming down to the power socket here, and that's good enough for me. Now, without giving away my date of birth, I'm at that kind of age where your body starts to grumble about various things. In my case, it's my lower back. Turns out that being sat at an office desk for 6 to 7 hours a day isn't actually very good for you. And this is where standing desks can really help. I've got one of these 4 presets all programmed in to switch into standing mode, and this is how I take almost all of my meetings and calls when I'm working here in the studio. I think you tend to think differently when you're on your feet, and my back has definitely been thanking me since I switched to this setup. The motors on this thing are super smooth, so there's no wobbling when it's in motion, and they can lift up to 160 kilograms with ease, just in case, well, you ever had a burning desire to pretend to be a forklift truck. When I do sit down, I do like to treat my rear end to a bit of comfort, and that's thanks to this Task One chair from my lovely channel partners over at Slouch. I did think about picking up a Herman Miller chair, but firstly, there's the insane cost, and also, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think their products just look really ugly. I was looking for something that looked after my back and my bum, but also was in keeping with the cozy, minimal aesthetic that we're going for here in the studio. So these chairs from Slouch come part assembled. You can have them rocking in about 15 minutes. And that's literally, you can rock in them. There's this auto-adjusting tilt, which helps relieve pressure on your lower back and your legs while supporting your lumbar area with this adjustable spacer here. The arms are adjustable in about all the ways you could possibly imagine, and there's a nice breathable mesh backing to stop you getting a sweaty back on a hot day. Oh, and the best part, this super squishable memory foam seat is so comfy. It's like sitting on an enormous moldable marshmallow, but you know, without having any of the downsides of sitting on an actual marshmallow. Let's take a look at some of the tech then, and running the whole setup is my trusty MacBook Pro. I've been thinking about upgrading recently, but honestly, I'm hard pressed to find an excuse to do this, as my 14-inch 2021 edition with the M1 Max chip is still absolutely flying. I regularly throw all sorts at it, including multiple stacked 4K video clips and heavy photo editing, and it never slows down at all. So I'm going to see what Apple do with their Pro lineups over the next few years before I even consider an upgrade. I do get a lot of comments about the skin that's on the laptop. It's by Dbrand and it's one of their collabs with Ali Abdaal. The specific one is called Solstice, and I have had it on a few years now, so much so it is starting to show some dirt and signs of wear. So I decided to freshen it up with another of the Ali Abdaal color options. This one is called Sea Breeze, and I think it's nicely complementing some of the other blue shades on the desk. Next up is my monitor. Now, I very nearly went overboard and bought the Apple Studio display. I've seen it out in the wild. Actually, I see it every day because my studio buddy Sarah is a photographer and she works on one most days. And I have to say, the color reproduction and the build quality is crazy good. But also I probably would need to sell a kidney to be able to afford one, and that's before you get one that will even let you adjust the height. Now really, you have to pay Apple an extra $400 in order to have a studio display that lets you adjust the height and tilt. So I went back to the drawing board to see what was out there, and I found this selection of monitors from an Aussie company called Allogic. They come in lots of different sizes and options, but the one I chose is their 27-inch UHD 4K clarity monitor. It's got a lovely glass front, it's nice and bright with great color reproduction, and it's built in a very similar way to the Apple Studio display. And check this out, it comes with height, tilt, and rotate as standard. No Apple tax necessary. And around the back, you've got lots of good I/O options, so I can easily have a one cable setup right to my MacBook using USB-C power delivery, as well as the monitor acting as a USB hub when I need it. Allogic do sell some monitors which are touch sensitive, which could be a really cool way to turn your Mac into a touch sensitive device, but maybe we'll save that one for another day. Now, connected up to my MacBook, I have this Astrono sliding dock. I featured this in my favorite tech of the year in my home setup last Christmas, and I ended up buying another one here for my studio desk. They're specially configured for your particular Mac model, but the idea is that you just connect things up like power and ports over on this side here, and then you just slide your MacBook in when you're ready to work. And then you're good to go without having to constantly fiddle with, connect, and disconnect cables. Having this on my desk shelf also means that I'm saving loads of space elsewhere where my laptop would ordinarily sit. Aside from the monitor, which also charges my MacBook, the other thing that's plugged into the Astrono dock is this monster hub from Tobin 1. It can sit vertically on a stand, but I've nestled it away horizontally here on my shelf tray where it fits perfectly. Now this gives me lots of options for charging devices on my desk, so if I ever need an easy way to recharge my camera batteries when I'm working, I can just hook it up and I don't need to wrestle around with lots of cables. It lets me run a single 8K display or up to 3 4K displays simultaneously. There's also a multitude of pass-through options for USB-A 3.0 and USB-C, plus 15-watt charging out on the front here. Also, there's SD and TF card slots for when I ever need to transfer files from my cameras easily. This tiny thing is a little beast of a dock. Let's have a look at the desktop next, and you can see I've gone to town with this blue theme. Firstly, there's this enormous mat from Newfie, which is their bokeh Deskpad. Now these come in a few different color options, but I was drawn to the Mystic Indigo color, which pairs beautifully with my current keyboard of choice, the Halo 75 version 2 wireless mechanical keyboard in this blue lagoon colorway. Now, I've been a Newfie fan for a while now, and I own a few of their keyboards, but this new gasket mounted 75% board with the Raspberry linear switches is a bit of a treat to type on. I also picked up this color matching wrist rest as I'm more used to using low profile boards, and it's always nice to have a bit of support. Now this keyboard has got loads of cool design choices, such as the see-through elements on the side, which show the colors glowing through if you decide to switch the lighting on. It's also QMK and VIA compatible, and everything's hot swappable, so if you want to tinker around and customize this one, you're all good. I'm sure you're dying to know how it sounds, so yeah, here's a little typing test. And then here's my mouse. This is the Logitech MX Master 3S. There's not much to say about this one, as most people generally agree this is the best mouse you can buy. But one thing I would say is that the grey and white colour option I have here is best avoided because it stains really badly. I have tried to clean off the yellowing around the area where my fingers and thumb sit, but me and my sweaty little hands have meant this was beyond repair. This is definitely the best mouse I've ever owned, but just get the black one if you're thinking about taking the plunge. Next up, we have audio, and I've got a few options to choose from here. Now, when I'm editing, it's really important for me to get very low latency, so I tend to combine these AirPods Max and all their noise cancelling goodness with this official Apple cabled accessory, which I run through the Tobin 1 dock. It means I get the best of both worlds with the audio quality that these bring, along with the lowest latency possible when I'm editing. And in terms of recording audio, I tend to use one of two options. Now, when I'm recording voiceovers or A-roll, or any time I'm going to be remaining in one place, my go-to mic is this PodMic USB from Rode. This lets me connect up to my MacBook via USB-C or XLR cable, and I usually have it mounted on this low-profile arm from Elgato, which keeps it out of sight on calls and also out of the way when it's not in use. Now, Rode also give you a ton of ways to configure this in their custom software, so even if you're on a Zoom call, you can tweak things so that your audio is absolutely on point and exactly the way you want it to sound. You can also plug in a set of headphones if you ever want want to monitor your audio live, which is always handy. When I need something more portable, I tend to use this Wireless Pro kit, also from Rode. This comes with 2 wireless microphones and 1 receiver, which lets you connect to a camera or a computer or a phone or tablet, and also the ability to clip them onto your clothes. Now, because they are a bit on the large side, you can also use the included lavalier cables to have a much more discreet setup. This is really handy if you're ever doing a presentation, you need to move away from the camera and still have people be able to hear you properly. Now, this one has 32-bit float recording, so it's going to smash through the quality of any inbuilt laptop or phone or camera microphones that you've got. If I ever need to make a quick behind the scenes video for my community over on the website, I'm always grabbing these first to make sure my audio is at its best. I have 1 charging stand on the desk, and it's this 3-in-1 number from Banks. Now, this lets me keep my phone, watch and AirPods charged up wirelessly, and as a side bonus, I sometimes flip this round and then pop it up here on the shelf so that I can use the continuity camera feature on my Mac and have my iPhone's rear-facing camera act as a webcam when I'm on video calls. And I'm surprised more people don't use their phones like this. The quality is in a different league to my laptop's built-in webcam, and when it's in clamshell mode here on the Astrono dock, it's a really nice clean workaround to avoid having a permanent webcam adding to the setup. Finally, the 2 latest additions to my setup. There's the iPad Pro. This is the 11-inch M4 model in space black with the denim colored Apple Folio case, and the new Apple Pencil Pro with a cheeky paper-like grip on. Now, I also popped on the matching D-brand skin to stop any nasty scuffs and scratches around the back. I'm still making my mind up about whether I'll be keeping my trusty iPad mini 6th gen. It kind of feels like I've been cheating on it every time I see it over there, looking all unused and unloved. This Ultra Retina XDR screen on the iPad Pro though, crikey, it is something else, and this thing is lightning fast. I'm going to do a full comparison between these 2 iPads soon, so make sure you're subscribed to hear my thoughts on which one I'll be hanging on to. I've been using the iPad as a sketching tool for design work like my wallpapers using Procreate, and also for taking notes and brainstorming throughout the day using GoodNotes, and then periodically I will take it off the case and attach it to this arm, which is from Kushu. This is really cool and the first of its kind. It's all wired in round the back, and I've done my best to cable manage it in a way that keeps it looking nice and clean without those wires on show. And this means that the iPad attaches magnetically and also charges magnetically, and you can have it in any orientation you want, so when I need it, I've got this super high quality floating second screen right there next to my monitor. So often my setup here means I've got my to-do list running over there to check as I'm blasting through some work, or listening to a bit of music while I'm working, or I might be editing a short over here in Final Cut and have my iPad in vertical mode to show me the preview window. And with all the power of universal control, if I ever need to type on or control my iPad while it's up here on the floating stand, I just move my mouse over to this side of the screen, and like magic, I can type and click and scroll without ever needing to switch my keyboard and mouse over to different inputs. When people talk about the Apple ecosystem being a reason to stay with the Apple devices, this is one great example of what they mean. Okay folks, that's about everything I can think of in my new desk setup. What's your favorite item, and can you think of anything important I might be missing? Let me know down in the comment section. Now meanwhile, if you want to see what other tech I keep in the studio to help me make these videos, there's a full rundown just over there. See you next time.